Hare Krishna, Namaste. Chapter 14 is entitled as Gunatraya Vibhaha Yoga, Sloka 1. Ata Chaturdasoऽധ്यायः śrī-bhagavān uvāca paraṁ bhūyaḥ pravakṣyāmi jñānānāṁ jñānam uttamam jñātvā munayaḥ sarve parāṁ siddhim ito gatāḥ. śrī-bhagavān uvāca, the Supreme Personality of Godhead said, paraṁ, transcendental, in other words, that which is different from what has been said earlier. jñānam uttamam, the best of all forms of knowledge. jñānam, about the knowledge. bhūyaḥ pravakṣyāmi, I shall speak again. jñātvā, by acquiring that knowledge which I am going to speak. sarve munayaḥ, all the sages, parāṁ, which is beyond this world of matter, siddhim gatāḥ, have attained perfection. Translation: the Supreme Personality of Godhead said, again I shall declare to you this supreme wisdom, the best of all knowledge, knowing which all the sages have attained the supreme perfection. Here Krishna says to Arjuna, I am going to tell you again, but differently. That is, what is going to be said now is different from what was stated earlier, but the subject matter is same. And that which Krishna is going to say now is considered to be best among all the forms of knowledge. And the benefit of having this knowledge, acquiring this knowledge, one will attain a state of perfection which is beyond this mundane existence. And this is seen among many great sages, where they have attained this knowledge and perfected themselves and ultimately able to cut off the association from the three gunas and the prakriti. As we saw in the previous chapter, Krishna declared that attachment to the enjoyments, which are nothing but the products of gunas, which is the cause of birth in different forms, in different wombs. Karanam guna sangosya sadasat yoni janmasu. That we have learned from the previous chapter. Now in this chapter, Krishna is going to describe the functions of these gunas. In this sloka, we see two terms. One is paraṁ, another is uttamam. It may sound both or meant to convey the same message as superior, but paraṁ in this context means different from what has been said, whereas the term uttamam means superior. That means Krishna is going to say something which is different from what he has said in the previous chapter. And that which he is going to say, which is different from the previous chapter, is superior in knowledge, uttamam jñānam. It is concerning the prakriti and purusha, but among that, the one that Krishna is going to say is superior, uttamam jñānam. So the topic over here is still about Prakriti and Purusha, that is the material nature, and the jīvātma. And certainly the highest knowledge is not the subject matter of three gunas. It is the knowledge regarding the Supreme Lord, Supreme Self, that is Paramatma. That is the highest knowledge. But in this context, within the Prakriti and Jīvātma, the knowledge about the three modes, three gunas, considered uttamam jñānam, superior knowledge. Munayaḥ, a person is called Muni because he is able to contemplate on one particular subject matter. What has been said here is those who contemplate on the three gunas always will be able to understand well how the three gunas become the cause of bondage, and one can realize how to get free from their shackles and attain liberation. Here in this topic of three gunas, one can only contemplate. They cannot practice the three gunas. Like in the previous chapter, we learned 20 qualities, and those 20 qualities can be practiced. Whereas here we are going to learn about three gunas, which cannot be practiced but only contemplated. By contemplation, one will be able to understand how the three modes work together, unitedly, to influence the Atma, and the Atma, which is influenced by the three modes, desire to experience the pain and pleasure by which it performs action and gets into karma and vasana. Because of these karmas and vasanas, it takes another body, and again in connection with the Prakriti and three gunas, due to desire, tries to experience the pain and pleasure again. Therefore, contemplation of how this whole thing works is what been mentioned here, and that is what one can do by understanding this subject matter on three gunas. Here Krishna says itaha, meaning from this world. In other words, it means that beyond this material universe, the person who contemplates on this subject matter have gone beyond this material universe, which means they have crossed the sphere of samsara, material nature, prakriti. So the underlying point is that the sages, by acquiring the knowledge of the gunas, attained perfection, which means that the knowledge of three gunas is the cause of the state of perfection. And what happens to such person who has acquired the knowledge about the three modes and who have contemplated always about the three modes? Parāṁ siddhim, state beyond. That is, they experience the essential and pure form of the self, which is beyond the sphere of samsara. Before, he was only experiencing the pains and pleasure in this world. Now, with this knowledge, by constantly contemplating on the subject matter of three gunas and how it all works, one will be able to free from these three gunas and attain paraṁ siddhim, meaning one will be able to experience the true nature of the Atma. But one thing is very important to understand here in this context is by contemplating on gunas, one attains the direct vision of Atma. But for one to attain Bhagavat Prapti, direct vision of the Supreme Lord, contemplation of three gunas is not going to help. Contemplation on the Supreme Lord and His qualities through the process of bhakti is what going to help one to attain the Supreme Lord. So the parāṁ siddhim has to be understood that for those who are contemplating on the three modes of material nature, trying to understand its functions, how it influences the jñātvā and so forth, will attain the pure state of the self by going beyond the samsara and attains kaivalya prapti. So in this way, what Krishna is trying to say here is an introduction to upcoming slokas that is saying is going to again tell about the Atma Prapti, attaining the Atma. That's going to be the subject matter, which was also the same for the previous chapter, but differently. What different? How the gunas entangles the jñātvā, how it functions. That is going to be a different topic, new topic, which was not discussed earlier, will be explained in this chapter, but it is again pertaining to the Atma Prapti. In the next Sloka, Krishna will speak about the benefits that flow from the knowledge of the gunas. Paraṁ bhūyaḥ pravakṣyāmi jñānānāṁ jñānam uttamam jñātvā munayaḥ sarve parāṁ siddhim gatāḥ. Namaste. Hare Krishna.